to the Chronic Health Collective. This isn't just a community, it's your fresh start. We have gathered the best coaches and experts to help you reclaim your energy, heal from the inside out, and live with purpose. Whether you're longing for more energy, deeper healing in your relationships, or a life that feels more aligned and fulfilling, you are not alone. So today is topic is for December. We're talking about presence, peace, and purpose. And we'll be talking about a couple of topics that help us get there with the presence, peace, and purpose. And so I am Leandra Frey. I am a life and dating coach. I help women get back out into the dating world after they've experienced a very long time of not being dating because of different circumstances. And I help hold their hand along the process so that they can find love in 6 months or less. And today I also have with me Jessica Hammock.
Hi, I'm Jessica Hammock, your trauma recovery and transformation coach. I help unwind the treasure of who you are from the trauma that you've been through so that you can walk in the truth of the identity of who you're created to be and live your best life. And we're also joined today by Kelly Fox.
Hi, I'm Kelly Fox, one half of Fearless Generations, and together Terry, Sarah, and I are the dynamic mother-daughter duo life coaches, and we focus on tools around moving past your fear and expanding your comfort zone. And I'm excited to be here with you ladies.
I love it. I love it. Well, we're going to talk about one of the topics that comes up at least a lot for women. So we want to go around and give thoughts about how not to lose yourself during the holidays. So that's one of the topics. And who would like to give some thoughts or insight on how not to do that? I'm looking at you, Jessica, our identity person.
How not to lose yourself. I think it's not even just in the holidays, but I think starting out with expectations, like your own internal expectations, is really important. Because I think that we have expectations of ourselves and of other people. And, I say this quite frequently when we have expectations here, in reality here, what happens in the middle is the intense emotions. And I think we can lose ourselves and we can get lost in that space of intense emotions. But a lot of times we actually have not developed an awareness really of what the expectations that we were holding are for ourselves and for other people, family, extended family groups that you might hang out with, activities you might participate in. And so just having an awareness, like really maybe taking time, 10 minutes, 15, 30, however long it takes you, right, to just sit down and take an inventory of like your calendar. What are all the invitations I have in front of me? What are my expectations of myself? Like, what do I want this to look like, sound like, and feel like this holiday season? Because ultimately we get a choice in how we show up and how we navigate those things. But at the same time, if we don't process or are aware of what we're expecting or what we want to choose, we can often land ourselves in a zone in which we're really uncomfortable. And I think in addition to that, kind of giving yourself a lot of buffer time around what you want to do and participate in. And I'll just share an example. We went to a Friendsgiving with some friends of ours today, and I had all these big plans of all these things that I was going to make and take. I was going to show off all like my baking and not my culinary skills, but so much more of like my baking and creative side. And I called my mom and I was like, so I was thinking about like making this dessert. And then I was going to make like a fruit tray that looks like a turkey. And then I was going to make cupcakes that look like a turkey on top. And then I was going to make this other thing. And then I was also going to make mashed potatoes, but I'm really confused about what I should make. And she's like, Jessica, why are you doing all of this stuff? Pick one thing and take one thing. I was like, oh yeah, I guess that's probably a good idea. But like I get lost in the expectations I was holding for myself. And why am I holding those expectations? And kind of that need for feeling like participating in something creative and cute and all the things, and not taking into account in the moment that I have limited time because there was other things pre-planned for the weekend and friends in town. and a toddler, and apparently have to sleep too. So all those things, I mean, and I'm sure Kelly can speak to that too, having a big family and things like that of what that looks like. But for me, I think planning the buffer zone around those things. So in my head, I created all these amazing things, and I didn't actually physically do all those things. But what I did do was enjoyable and fulfilling. So that would be my thing. Like, really think about what are my expectations and what is the buffer time I need to create around those things. So Kelly, what are your thoughts? I know you have a big family. You have a lot of needs in that area.
Yeah, I do. I have a big extended family as well as my family is quite large. And I agree with really examining what those expectations are and being clear. Sometimes, as the parent, I schedule things for us as a family and I don't really discuss it with the rest of the family. I'm just like, yeah, we're going here and we're doing this. And so I think that it can be helpful, especially with the younger ones that get into wanting to do something. And then all of a sudden you're interrupting it and telling them to go get dressed and they have to go, play nice for several hours. And so, giving them a little heads up, I think is helpful. Also, if something's going on with your kids, I think it's helpful to also give the other people that are going to be interacting with them a heads up. Hey, don't approach this subject. Or, hey, this kid's having a hard time, let's not pick on them this particular time, because when you have this, I know for me, my kids are kind of the oddballs in the family. And so they have a tendency to be the outliers on their phones and not mingling. And so they can kind of be the ones that people poke at. And so it's having that conversation with them, having the conversation with the rest of the family so that they do like coming to family things, and so there are things like that, expectations that we have of, I know for me, I want my kids to mingle. I want them to get along with their aunts and their uncles and their cousins. And I have learned to manage that expectation that they're not going to be constantly on their phones with each other and not mingling, because when I have that expectation, it ruins my time. Right. So I stop worrying about them and I go mingle and have fun with my siblings and their kids, and they do what they want to do. And so I think it's getting clear on what is going to really serve your needs. What can you ask for, right? And where can the compromises be? Because getting into, the holiday has to look like this, it has to feel like this, it has to happen like this, is just setting yourself up for a horrible holiday, right? Because it's not going to happen that way. So, just getting really clear on what those needs are, so that you can stay present in the moment and not be worried about this or that.
Yeah, that's so good. So Leandra, you are the coach that throws like the what do we call it? The variable in the mix. And somebody is bringing a new person to the holidays potentially, or leaving one behind from last holidays. So how do you think that?
Well, I was listening to Kelly about the kids on the phones, and then so I have a nephew who is one of those. He's now in his early 20s. That's on his phone, but he has one really cool strength is he loves to do board games, and so there's almost now a new expectation on him that is and he brings like board games we've never heard of. But I've noticed that when he's in his element, like doing the like, he's all about reading the rules. He doesn't care if it's the first time he's played it. He's like, brings everyone together and reads the rules. This is one time he's off the phone. And then we were playing a game for like 2 hours or whatnot after eating. But that being said, what you're asking, Jessica, it is a great way to bring new people in, because a game equalizes, the playing field, expectations, all those things. I mean, at that point, it's your brain, you learning something. Everyone is trying to figure it out. And especially if it's a brand new game. And so that's not something I created. That's more a resource, learning people have their strengths and accepting who they are, where they're at. So that's been a really cool benefit, to just letting people be how they are. Because I remember I used to get a little annoyed when he would be like, oh man, he's gonna be on his phone all day. What are we gonna do? I'm used to be here like 6 hours. And as a result, and this is now most of our Thanksgivings is the games, and that's helped bring in all sorts of different people, because we have young adults in our family now, and guess what? They bring significant others. They may or may not last, but we embrace them as such. And so with that, if you're a host, definitely have, if you're welcoming new significant others, boyfriends and girlfriends. I mean, I do my best to just give them as much, give them as much a wide berth, if you will. And then I usually try to tell, if I am the one bringing a significant other, or telling my coaches or telling my clients, make sure you're giving your significant other as much information as possible. And then have multiple things going on, right? We will have, like, for Thanksgiving, we'll have a game going, the football game going, and then someone will be watching a movie or doing a puzzle, and then the games, right? It's nice that there's multiple things going on if you have a large amount of people at your house, right? And that way people have an outlet. Like if they want to go outside, they want to go for a walk. That's what I've noticed. As long as there's multiple things going on, then there's not pressure to keep on having the same conversation with your person that's sitting next to you at Thanksgiving, right? Like, I feel like there's so much pressure when you're like, oh no, I'm sitting next to my aunt. She's going to ask me so many questions. That's me, by the way. And so like, but yeah, so those are some things to help new significant others. And then if you are the brand new person that's like, oh my gosh, what am I doing? Then ask your, if you're going into someone else's house, then ask your friend, if you're going as a friend, what to expect, or as a significant other, like who could I watch out for, and can I still help? What can I do to help? So my husband, he is amazing at this. This is probably what helped me fall in love with him. But for the longest time, he still does it, is he would go to any of our houses and he would always ask the host, how can I help? Oh my gosh, like all the time. How can I help? And everyone's like, this is your guy. This is who you're with. I'm like, I know, it's so great. So you can also ask those questions. How can I help?
Yeah.
You will be golden.
That's great.
In your hostess eyes. So yeah.
I will say this too. I think, like, from a trauma perspective, and I just want to put this out there because that's definitely where I focus a lot, is if you've recently gone through things like a trauma or a loss that has impacted yourself and you still desire to show up, just really being aware of, like, what are the things that activate your nervous system or dysregulate you. So if it is sitting next to the aunt who asked the questions, or if there's smells of somebody's perfume or smells of food, or if there's particular sounds, like having identified, like, what is the strategy for yourself in those moments if your nervous system becomes dysregulated. Obviously, breathing is something we tell people to continue to do, right, when you're dysregulated, but like, what are your other maybe coping strategies or exit strategies that you might need to keep yourself in that place of, like, not losing who you are? It's okay to give yourself a time limit when you're thinking about when you can participate and how you can. But sometimes if we're not paying attention to what, I don't like the word trigger. I prefer to use the word activation. But what are the things that activate your nervous system in a way that says things aren't safe? And so if that's the case and you're sensitive to certain smells, I am personally very sensitive to just perfumes, and it's not from a trauma, it's just how my nervous system processes fragrances. I was like the one who always had to avoid the perfume counter at the mall because just walking by it would make me sick. But smells and sounds can be things that activate traumas in people's nervous systems. So knowing that you're going to be in a variety or a mix, and like having that plan so that you don't get stuck in dysregulation and then all of a sudden the focus is on you, that's really uncomfortable, is also really key. And I love what you said, Leandra, about having different options. Hopefully the host home you're going to or where you're going to be at has those options to participate, like quiet spaces versus like active games, or games that everybody's watching but you don't really have to talk to them about, right? So I always think like there's so many personalities that come out with holiday functions, and maybe your guest will make it through to the next round, to the next holiday, and then again you might learn something and maybe they won't.
Oh, it was funny. I just had a client get introduced to the whole family. It was not a Thanksgiving, but it was a Halloween party. And so there was a lot of prep work for that. Because it was going to be, speaking of having an exit strategy, we built that up, right? We're like, you have to have a way to get out. But one of the things that I told her to do, and I learned this from someone who had a lot of sensory, like, would be, was not, I wouldn't say an introvert, but just more sensitive to a lot of people. I was like, arrive early and help. So as new people come in to meet you, it's not so like, it's not like you're walking into a full blown party. You're there as the party builds up, and then you get to meet people on your terms versus walking into it. So that's how we strategize to help her meet persons one at a time. And I was like, give yourself a job. Like, give yourself, like, I'm in charge of the trash. Like, give yourself something to do so that you're not just waiting for people to scrutinize you. Because in this case, it was two widows. So it was, so a lot of people are going to have a lot of opinions on the new girlfriend, right? So I was like, just wait for the scrutiny, and it's okay. You're not going to die from it, but having that entry, we had an entryway, right? And a protocol, and then an exit protocol. And I was like, it's okay. I think we had her get a lift instead of like depending on someone to take her home, because her significant other, her new boyfriend, was the one hosting, right? So he couldn't leave his own party. I was like, but you can leave the party, and when you're ready, then leave. But I would give yourself 2.5 hours there. And so she was like, oh my gosh, I didn't know you can plan that. I was like, yes, you can be intentional with these things that you're going to. Like, you're not obligated to stay 4 hours or 3 hours. But we're so used to like, oh, we're supposed to be there at the beginning and we got to stay all the way to the end. And especially if you're someone's new girlfriend, new boyfriend, I mean, think about the expectations. You're not going to stay and help and clean up. I'm like, no, none of those you have to do. Like, especially as the new person coming in, until the two of you become the hosts, both, you have your own house, y'all are married, y'all are hosting, then that will become your, new responsibility. But for right now, but anyway, that was a great example. So thanks, because I really had a real life example that just recently happened with. So yes, it's okay to put a time limit to these holiday gatherings.
For sure.
I love that. So I know we're almost to the time for our break, but Kelly, what have you all experienced that where you've had individuals be brought in as the new person in your big family? How did that, like, were there things that you would have as takeaways also?
Well, yeah, my nieces or my nephews have brought people in, right? I have a couple nephews in their 30s, so when they first come in, you kind of have your questions, and we did not, or at least I did not, overwhelm my now niece. I just tried to let the relationship build, on its own. But I think the way I approach it is I just approach it as, they've always been there kind of a thing. But I do try to show interest. When I brought my husband in, there were all kinds of comments. Like, as I said, my kids are the oddballs. They're the oddballs because of him. And so he's very different from, any of my sister's husbands. And so it was, a process of dealing with their comments, asking people to behave themselves, setting boundaries, and all of that. But I think that and then going to his family, I think really the biggest thing you can do is to have each other's back. I feel like when you're walking in a room of a bunch of people you want to like you, it is really good to have someone who has your back and thinks you're wonderful and is going to stand up for you, rescue you from any kind of situation, and that would definitely be a conversation you would need to have beforehand of saying, like, if this happens, I need you to do this, kind of a thing.
Love that.
I love that also. Yeah, I think it's so powerful for us to know who our support system is, know what it looks like for our exit strategy, and have a variety of those conversations. And so I hear such this common theme, like having those conversations and planning strategies beforehand is such a powerful thing. So being prepared, it's not just about preparedness physically, but like mentally and emotionally preparing for the before, during, and after. So those are all great strategies. We are going to go to our first commercial break. And when we come back, we'll take another look at how we can preserve our presence, our peace, and our purpose. Right back after this.
Hi, I am Leandra Frey. I am a life and dating coach. I help women that have gone through a divorce, widowhood, or if it's been a long time since they've been in a relationship, I help them get back on their feet, gain courage and confidence to get back into the dating world and find the love of their lives in 6 months or less. The reason I do this is having been divorced myself, I have been out in the world, the dating world, what I would call the gauntlet. And it can be hard when you've come off a divorce or you've come off a long time breakup and you find yourself starting and stopping, starting and stopping. And sometimes you stop and many years can go by. And so what I'm here to do and help you is to help you along the way so that you don't give up on yourself and that we learn to create resilience in your dating so that you can keep going and not waste 5, 7, 12 years of your life thinking there's no one out there for you. There are many people out there for you. There is someone looking for you today. So that is why I do what I do, because I love bringing people together because we are all created for love and connection. All right, welcome back. All right, so we're talking about how to have peace and presence and purpose during the holidays. We've heard how to prepare for a gathering, having strategies, exit strategies, and setting expectations, and having someone in the room to have your back. That's actually really huge, right? So one of the things we've been talking about is also not how to lose your identity, but um, how to be intentional with what you attend and what you'll host. So Jessica, you talked a little bit about this at the beginning of looking at your calendar to see what is truly possible. And I did want to say I did see your desserts that you made. Those looked amazing, and I was like, "Can I make that for Thanksgiving?" She had this beautiful turkey charcuterie board with fruit or something. It was amazing. So go check her out on her Facebook page. It is amazing. So yeah. So what are some things we talked about looking at our calendar? My husband and I look at our calendar every week, just because he also he works. He's also campaigns for local politics here. And then we running my own business. There's a lot of things that we have to look at together. But a lot of times when it comes to looking at the month, is learning to pull back and saying what is possible. So that's what I've been working on. So Kelly, do you have any resources or practicalities for how to be intentional about what you're going to attend or what you're going to host during this next 6 weeks, last 6 weeks?
Yeah. Yeah, fun. Yeah. So I kind of am in charge of our calendar when it comes to what my husband and I do, and then what we do as a family. It becomes more of a challenge with my olders, like my 20-year-old and my 22-year-old. I have to check in with them more now that they're older and have cars and can just take off. And so there is a little bit of a process of making sure everyone's on board, but I live by my calendar, my Google Calendar. And if there's something that involves them, I tag them in it. So, so that they know, they got an email that told them that this event was happening on this day at this time. And they'll get reminders. And that's kind of how I do it. If something's coming up for one of the kids, I'll definitely tag my husband, but then I'll tag other kids, or I'll even tag Terry, so that she knows they have something coming up, because sometimes I forget to tell her, and then it happens. And she's like, "Why didn't you tell me?" So, yeah, I think it would probably be good if we actually did have meetings as a family and said, this is what's going on. But we're not that organized. But yeah, I think that considering everybody's needs, but also as a mom, I think a lot about what would be good for them. Especially my little boys who like to just be on the computer or the PlayStation all day. They're going to have a lot of time off of school, and it's being, kind of intentional about how are we going to use this time? Maybe we'll go to the library for a couple of hours, or maybe we'll, bake something together. Maybe we'll go to the park, though it's kind of cold to go to the park. But, it's kind of thinking about, how do we really want to spend our time as we're off of school? Like right now, we're approaching a week of no school. And so how do we want to address it? My husband still has to go to work, though. So it's, it's not like we can just take off, but how can we have fun? How can the time be, spent doing something productive, or not even productive, but just like not totally zoning out on our screens. Even me, I'll totally binge watch Hallmark Channel like all day. So how do I get myself, into a place where we're doing something as a family and creating memories and connecting and all of that? And I love that you mentioned earlier about playing the game. During the pandemic, we instituted a game night. So every Thursday, everyone had to come together and we did a game night. It kind of fell away once they could leave the house again, but I love that idea. And I think that's definitely something that I want to try doing with the kids this coming week, is getting out some of our games and playing them. And we love sharing them with new people. My daughter just got a boyfriend. It's the first time.
Oh.
Any of my kids have really had like a boyfriend or a girlfriend. And she's 20, dude. Like, I've been waiting. But so, dealing with like him being over all the time, and now she's going to his house for dinner, and like now we're like having to deal with this whole like, oh, well, I'm gonna be with him, or so it's like the family is like constantly changing, right? Especially as they get older, they're into different things. So it's keeping in mind, how can you kind of fill the needs of everyone involved, which can be definitely overwhelming. And so again, it comes down to having a conversation, of getting the family together and saying, okay, what do you guys want to get done this week? Do you want to have a family night? Do you want to go to the library? Do you want to spend some time with, grandma? Like, what are we wanting to do with this time? And not putting all of the pressure on yourself to, figure out how to entertain everybody. And I think that that's good with hosting a party, or that's good with going to a party, having those conversations of like, well, what would you like to do? What would be fun for you to do? And then going to a party, you can say, like, are there activities going on? Would it be fun if I brought my Harry Potter clue and everybody played along? So, being mindful of the fact, especially if you have little kids, being mindful of the fact that they're going to get bored. And if they're at Nana's house, it is not good for them to be bored, because then they start getting into stuff they're not supposed to, and then you get yelled at. So, keeping in mind, being mindful and purposeful in how you're going to show up and how you're going to support the people in your family, or even the people at the party, to have a good time. And so that you can enjoy it as well. Because I think that's kind of the thing for me. Either I'm ignoring them because they're ignoring me, or I'm trying to interact with them and they don't want it. Right. So how can I support interaction, which is a need I have, in a way that they're actually going to want to engage? And how can I set it up for that? Right. So, like, I'm getting ideas as I'm talking, ladies. This is amazing. So, saying like, hey, what game do you want to share with everyone at Thanksgiving? And they can pick out their favorite game to take. And then they're excited about playing the game with their cousins, or their whoever wants to play. So I think I'm going to implement that this year and get them more involved with interacting with each other. Because as they continue to get older, they're not going to have such easy access to each other. And so it's important that, they have relationships with their cousins. I didn't. And so I feel like I kind of missed out on that. And I really want them, because they have so many, that they, have those relationships as much as I have control over, which is very little. But
when I was first married, my in-laws family still do it some, but when I was first married, I noticed how every Thanksgiving or Christmas or holiday, they would sit around and discuss what's been your favorite from the past. What events or activities did you do that were your favorites? What do you remember the most? And it really had me thinking about like my own story. There was a lot of times I couldn't remember the events we had attended or the things that we had done. And I tried a different approach to be more intentional because life passes us by and we don't always remember. So I bought a little journal notebook, just a spiral bound notebook, and it became my holiday. I'm not much of a journaler by nature. Like I'll start and then I get like 3 days in and I'm like, yeah, I'm good. I don't need a journal for a while. So I am not one of those consistent journaling people, but I do like to capture memories. And so I bought this notebook and it became my holiday record. And so I don't do it immediately. Sometimes it's like a week or two after, sometimes it's a couple months after, but still fresh enough in my memory. And so I started tracking, different major holidays that our family celebrated, whatever those were. And what I would write down is the events we did, who came, and if we received gifts, what they were. And so when I think about this concept of like, think about what you want to attend and what you want to host, it has become a practice for me to kind of look back through the years and think about the value that some of those things had brought to me and the value that added to my life from who I was spending time with. And so I kind of use that sort of as a barometer of like, how do I want to move forward? Is this a situation, a relationship, or a memory that will add to my life? Or is this something I'm participating in because I feel like I'm still stuck with some things like people pleasing or struggling with rejection and abandonment? And so I'm saying yes so I don't feel those things versus I'm saying yes to things that add value to my life. And I know that's kind of like a much deeper conversation almost for, that reflection. And so, find yourself a coach. We have amazing coaches in the Chronic Health Collective that can help you process that from many different angles. If that is something that struck a chord from you, of this idea of like, why am I choosing to say yes to the things I am? And am I really struggling with, abandonment, rejection, shame, fear, trauma, all of those things? Like, is there something in the past that is standing in the way of me living my best life, of living in that fearless space, of living with, a new significant other, of living in a healed place? Because those are all possible. And I believe all of us in the Chronic Health Collective are here because we also believe those things are possible. But when we start to look at what we're saying yes to from a perspective of what brings value to me and brings value to my life versus just it's yes on the calendar, or I have to go to avoid conflict, or I have to go so that this doesn't backfire, we are putting ourselves in a place of saying yes from a nervous system dysregulation, as opposed to saying yes to a place that can add joy and creativity and beauty and love and those experiences to my life. And those are the things, if you've ever watched the movie Inside Out, if you haven't, I encourage you to go watch both of them. They're my faves.
They're so good.
But there's a scene in the movie, well, when the first movie, it talks about like how joy would store the core memories. And there's this transitional pivotal scene where it was like the core memory got kind of both joy and sadness touched it. And it's like both were present in that memorable experience. But because the joy and the nervous system can feel a lot bigger, sometimes we can experience a whole variety of emotions in these events that we're participating in, but certain ones can linger longer because of the intensity that they take up in our nervous system. And so thinking about what am I saying yes to from that perspective of what do I want my nervous system to hold long term? How am I showing up? And it really does speak to this idea of having purpose in what we're doing so that we can preserve our peace in everything that we're doing. So that has been most helpful for me, is just having that notebook and then I use my calendar and look at time and the emotional capacity of not just myself, but the people I'm actually going with. So like I have a 3-year-old, I have a husband, the emotional capacity of them, like I might be able to do way more things or many more things back to back and still feel amazing. But the emotional capacity of all of us together might not be the same amount. Well, it's definitely not the same amount, mainly because I have 3.5-year-old. Their emotional capacity and space is just a lot different than when you are as an adult. And so really thinking about that and the people that I'm going to run into, where are they all at in their lives? Like what's going on? Not that I want to pull away from somebody, but there are just people that bring negative with them. That's how they know how to live, is bringing negative with them. And so limiting those things for me so that I'm not leaving there completely depleted. And we're all of us part of this connection company outside of this. And they talk about this idea of being, we hear commonly about an introvert and an extrovert, but this idea of being an ambivert, like you're all in when you're there and it feels amazing and life-giving, and then you need like 4 days to recover afterwards. So like some people are introverts and they really have to build up a lot of capacity to go to a space for a short amount of time where there are a lot of people and a lot going on, and then it takes them an exceptional amount of time afterwards to kind of still recalibrate their nervous system. And some people need to go to those things and are re-energized and lifted up and refuel, and they're ready to hit the ground running. I tend to be more of that ambivert. Like I can be all in and I'm great while I'm there, and then also at the end I just feel like a deflated balloon. I'm like done. There's nothing left, and I need to maybe be on the couch for a couple of days afterwards. So I think knowing those spaces for sure, but being intentional to think also about like what does it look like for the emotional capacity of the people I'm with and the people I'm going to intersect with. So such great topics.
Yeah, I'm an extrovert, but it depends on who you're with, right?
Yeah.
Like some people take up your energy, or it takes more energy to be with them than others. So when I'm with my friends, dude, I could go all night. But like sometimes when I'm with my family, there's conflict, which takes, more energy. And so I'm more of like, I'm showing up, but then I'm like, I'm out. Like I'm done. I've capped. Right.
Yeah.
So
yeah, I've learned, well, to what you were saying about the emotional capacity, that's one of, as I've matured in my life, I've learned, when you were talking about your husband and the 3-year-old, I'm like, or myself, I think when I've learning to look at my calendar, is it used to be if there was white space, I'm like, oh, I'm available. There's nothing on there. Right. And now I've learned, and especially in this season, because I am a host, I host several things just on a regular basis. And so I literally now have to look at it and think, what is my energy capacity going to be? And so that's a new question I haven't asked myself, or I've learned to ask myself, is what is your energy? Similar to Jessica, what you were saying about, do you need to decompress afterward for some of the events? And I've learned to look at my calendar and be like, you are going to be a couch potato the next day. So you cannot host back to back. And so that almost happened just recently, this past weekend. I was hosting a fellowship, and then it looked like I was going to host tomorrow night a Friendsgiving for my young adult ministry. And thankfully, because I do check my calendar and look at it from a holistic, not a holistic view, but like from a helicopter view, to say, oh, no, we are not doing. And then I'm going to host Thanksgiving like 2 days later. I was like, no. But I've learned to do that through trial and error, unfortunately, where on the day that I need to be recovering, I've learned, where I'm an irritable, grumpy bear. If I have too many things back to back, and to the journaling exercise, knowing what your purpose is and what do you want to feel. It would be awesome if I could go to all the events or host all the events, but I don't want to feel like a grumpy bear. And then my only experience being, oh my gosh, I was just so rushed and tired and annoyed and irritated. And then the people that normally don't irritate me would irritate me, if that makes sense, right? Because then I'm the irritable person. And so I've learned, thankfully, now it's not who's going to drain my energy. If I'm rested, no problem. Like if I'm rested, I'm purposeful. I've done, I've walked in the morning. I've pet my cute dogs, because my dogs, about like having animals, petting them, they release their oxytocin because petting a dog or animal really helps. But if I've done all that work leading up to hosting an event, then nothing can irritate me as long as I'm rested. versus if someone comes with a toxic or irritable personality. If I'm irritable, oh, then we're going, it's bad. So thankfully I've learned to take care of myself, but that's been a skill. Like that's a skill that I've learned over the past few years. It's not something I naturally had. And my mom would always tell me, even when I was really young, to say, like, hey, you're not invincible. Stop trying to do all the things. So many years later, I'm like, thanks, Mom. I'm finally listening. It's slow to hear over here, but finally listening. But yeah, and I love the journaling aspect of asking like what's the purpose and what value will you get, right? So to Kelly, what you were saying, if someone is negative and you don't want to be around them, yeah, I have to really think, do I want to spend 3 hours at someone's house that is just an irritable mood, or that's their general disposition? I used to be a people pleaser and be like, well, yes, I have to go because it's invited and I have to deal with the fallout if I don't show up. And now I've learned, even if I do have the energy, do I want to spend that energy being over there? So I do love that idea of journaling your experiences. I do journal, but unfortunately, it's everything. So I don't have, unless I remember to go back to that year. It's a lot to go back to that date to be like, what was the experience? But I do try to remember all that. Yeah, so those are some things that I've learned is asking, not do I have the time, but do I have the energy? So we have touched on this, but it's also one of the things is how do we not be all things for everyone? I think that's something that we've learned, that we experience as women, trying to be a caretaker. We are in the sandwich generation, right? So a lot of us are taking care of our parents. We have a 3-year-old, right? Some of us have 3-year-old, or we got teenagers right now. You, Kelly, have teenagers and young adults, and then you have your mom. So yeah, we are in that, and then we want to be a great wife. We want to be a great friend, a great sister. So what are some ways? Just I know we talked about managing expectations, but how do we not lose ourselves? We talked a little bit about that, but like, how do we not be all things for all people, like, and still be ourselves? So, Kelly, you're right in the middle of that. So,
Yeah. Well, I think you addressed a lot of that, taking care of yourself, making sure that your cup is full so that you're giving from overflow. You're not giving your necessary, energy that you need to be able to function as yourself. I think, making sure that you're really doing those things that support you, to be able to show up as how you want to show up and being intentional about that. We have a tool called intentions where we really think about how we want to what we want to practice to be able to show up as the person we want to be. And so is it having compassion for yourself? Is it giving yourself grace? Is it, seeing your innocence? Like, what are those things that will support you to show up as you want to show up? And then we say that to ourselves over and over when we get activated. I like that word too. We have that already set in our mind of how we want to show up. So, okay, so, in this moment, I'm not feeling too great. So how can I give myself compassion right now? We also encourage you to have 5 proactive behaviors that you can do anywhere, and during anything. And so maybe it's taking a deep breath, or maybe it's walking outside, maybe it's saying a prayer, maybe it's listening to a song, like whatever it is, having that ready to go, so that if something happens, you can ground yourself. You can take a proactive step and stop spinning out, in fear. So, I think it just comes back to being prepared, setting yourself up for success, making sure you're doing those self-care acts, that you're having conversations with the people that you're going to be going to these events with, you know, and making it clear on, you know, how you want to participate and how you want to not, I guess.
Those are such great things, Kelly, and that'll give you all a chance to think about those things as we head into our next commercial break.
When you look in the mirror, do you see skin that's just dry, tired, and stressed? It's time for a new ritual. Introducing Deep Love, the blue botanical face cream by Coolness. We've captured their tranquil essence of blue botanicals in a cloud-soft formula that deeply soothes irritation and restores your natural, healthy glow. This isn't just skincare, it's an act of self-care. It's Deep Love. Find your calm only at coolness.com. Scan the QR code now to visit our website.
Have you encountered a situation or an event in your life that's caused you to feel stuck? You were on a journey to live your best life, but thoughts and feelings from the past keep showing up and has caused you to feel like you're not headed in the right direction or being the best version of you. Meet Jessica Hammock, trauma recovery and transformation coach. Not only will she teach you about emotional and mental health, she's here to help you unwind the treasure of who you are from the trauma of your past so that you can walk in the truth of your identity and break free from what is holding you back so you're able to nurture the best version of who you're meant to be. The time is now. Let's get started. Well, we gave you so much to think about today in all the things, and we have just about 2 minutes left before we wrap up today. So the final question I would ask to you ladies is, when a woman, especially, we've spoken a lot to that today, to identity and family and all the things showing up for holidays. When a woman lays her head on the pillow at night, not that this can't speak to gentlemen also, but when she does, being the mom, the manager, the calendar, the individual, when she lays her head on the pillow at night, what would be the final thing that you would want her to remember about who she is in this holiday season? What would you have to say?
Oh, go ahead.
I just, I think the feeling of, I know sounds so like cliche, but I love feeling love on some of the big events that I've hosted. I just, even though I'm like tired, my brain feels full with love and just, I feel warmth. So, and proud. I also feel proud. Those are the things that I would want to feel.
Awesome.
Yeah, I was going to say, I want her to know she's enough. So, however she showed up, however everyone else showed up, however the night went, she's enough. And, you know, she did her best, you know, and maybe her best, you know, that night wasn't the same as it was yesterday, but it's still her best. And she's enough. That's what I want her to know.
Those are all awesome things. And no matter where you're at on your journey, you are worth doing the work, would be my message. You are worth doing the work, whether that's to take a break, to heal, to allow yourself to experience that love and that commitment of who you are and that you are enough. And we are so grateful that you joined us for this episode. And if today's episode spoke to you, Don't go it alone. You can book your free consult with one of our expert coaches at chronichealthcollective.com. You saw just a few of us today, but we're here for your personalized support. You can also subscribe to our monthly magazine for expert tips from all 10 coaches to elevate your health, your mindset, and your relationships. You can catch us live every Tuesday at 7 p.m. Central Standard Time, or watch past episodes anytime on E360 TV or on youtube.com at Chronic Health Collective. So thanks for tuning in. We hope that you have a peaceful, purpose-filled holiday with your presence showing up, and your transformation to live chronically healthy starts now. See you next week.